Hi guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts, and this is Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, September 11th, 2018. It's a big day in U.S. history. I got my buddy Miss Mocha here with me. She was sitting in my chair, but of course I stole her spot and she's not very happy. If you haven't noticed by now, I don't really do a lot of outside of the house exciting things, so I've had a very calm week again. Most of the construction is digging up the road has moved down. We still have a big mud pit and a dirt road, but they're working on an intersection a little bit further up. So it's been pretty quiet. We do hear some dump trucks going back and forth. I spent a little time cleaning and reorganizing the craft room on Sunday. Off to the side where you can't see, next to my crumb curtain, if you remember seeing that on the window behind you, I brought a bookcase that I had in, it was kind of like a piece of an entertainment center where they have the two big, almost like narrow bookcases here, and they have a big shelf that goes across and you put your TV in the center. Well, I have one side in the living room that I keep like CDs and movies and stuff on, and I brought one in that I had in my closet and put it in here, and to put a lot of those little containers and stuff that just seem to be taking up room, so I was able to put that in there. I have one more double tall bookshelf that I want to put over on this side to just help alleviate a lot of the little clutter. It seems in the craft room I need to have a lot of small containers for little things like bobbin storage, and I have things as scissors, and you get pens and pencils and rotary cutters and rulers and all that stuff, and it's a lot of clutter, and I like to have an open spot to work in, so a lot of my mess gets pushed to the edges. So I'm going to bring in some bookcases and see if that can help clean up some of that mess. I know, if anyone who's cleaned out things like that, I had a whole bunch of stuff on the bookshelf. It was a lot of craft related items, some magazines for knitting and quilt books and stuff like that. So you take all that stuff off, you put the bookshelf in your room, you fill it up, and you feel really great because you've got it nice and neat and organized. Well, as I'm looking at it, there's things on the shelves, a lot of different size containers, so it doesn't look neat, but it is nice and neat. And then you turn around and you see that mess behind you of all the things you took off the shelf that now you have to find a home for. That's the part that always gets me. Getting this spot all clean and organized is fine, but then finding a home for all that extra crap, it takes me a while. I plan on going through a lot of my stuff and just donating a lot of things that I don't use anymore. I know I've narrowed down my craft window. I know specifically what I'm going to be making in each craft, and I just want to get rid of all that excess stuff that you kind of collect as a crafter throughout the years. You try different crafts, like maybe you did try embroidery and now you don't do it, so you have all those supplies. Maybe you wanted to try watercolor painting, so you have the easel and the paper and the watercolors and all that stuff. So then you get all that extra and you don't do it anymore. There's no sense really keeping it. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to donate a lot of the stuff just to clear out that clutter. So beyond all that, I did get some crafting done. Before I flip the camera around to give you a close-up, I want to show you, I did pull out my button project again. I only put a handful of buttons on it, but it'll be easier to see from here if I go ahead and just hold it up. I worked down here in the purple and green, and I will give you a close-up when I flip the camera. But this is the way it's looking so far. And from here it kind of looks cool with all the different big buttons and the colors. I've gotten my big ones on, and now I'm starting to work onto the medium size, so that's what that looks like. But I'm liking the way this was coming along, so I was very pleased with that. So let me go ahead and flip the camera around and I'll give you a close-up on this project and show you what else I worked on. So here's my button project. I didn't add anything down to this end of it. I just went ahead and I started adding, like I said, the little, not the little, but the medium-sized green buttons. So I put these on. And then I added some of these purples. Now some of these have this nice little bit of, I don't know, they got like the swirl, so they glimmer a little bit in there. And then some of them just have this really just nice true purple color. This green's got a couple different shades of green in there. Now some of these, of course, they're just not my color. like the green yellow and this dark green. It's not for me, but with the buttons and everything, I like how all the different shades just kind of work together, and it makes it look a little bit like of a constellation. So yeah, so I just pulled this out a little bit, and I just spent a few minutes just adding those buttons on. If you haven't seen this and I haven't brought it out in a while, this is not going to be the actual back of my buttons. I'm just using this, and when I put my back on, it's going to go ahead and hide all of the threads. When I was working on my project before, I liked having the little road map of all the embroidery floss going everywhere. But I'm going to have to, because of the size of this, and I can't actually put it in a hoop to hold it tight so I can go with that, make my threads go further. I'm just going to go ahead and tie them off. I tried early on to let them go like this, but what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to cut these and I'll just knot them off, because it doesn't work. It's too easy that they're like loose and stuff like that. I did knot them each time I put the button on so that this wouldn't cause any of the buttons to come loose. So I'm just going to stick with tying them off and it'll be fine. So there's my buttons. Buttons, who's got the buttons? I did work on the facing. I finished the facing off on my spider quilt. If you guys remember last week, I was having problems with some bearding on it. Now this time it's not as bad, but some of it did come through. I switched back to my regular needle, and I think that helped a little bit. But once again, I'm not worried about this one because this is going to be mine. It's going to go on the wall and you can't see the back. I'm not going to be particular and peek back there to see how well I stitched the facing down. I didn't even worry about hiding my stitches. I just went through and just... And maybe that's part of the problem, that I did just go through it so quickly. I'm just going to go ahead and change up the color on my facing next time. It's going to add some contrast to the back, so it'll be fine. Sometimes it's fun to just try to figure out what causes a certain thing like this bearding. And I think it's just a little bit of a combination of everything, the batting, the needle, and just the way I was stitching it. But it's like I said, it's fine. I cast on a new hat this week to keep my weekly hat going. You haven't seen this one yet at all, so there's no actual stitch marker to show you because I started it fresh. This one's kind of fun. I like this. This is Michael's Loops and Thread Impeccable. They have a lot of fun colors, and the way they just kind of change up just a little, they make it look like little narrow strips and stuff like that. Well, it's going to change based on your stitch and how many stitches you put on, size of needles and all. But the way I do it, it ends up having a nice little stripe pattern, so that's fun. While cleaning up that shelf in my closet, I did find my needle protectors, so I put those on for my shawl. And of course, I stopped right in the middle of a row. I thought I was done with it when I put it away last night, but I guess not. Let's see if we can get this out here to show you a little bit. So you can see how the grays are still changing along, going nicely. The open lace work, once it's all done, the weight of it will pull down on your back. So like I said, this is the top part. So as this weighs down, it'll go ahead and stretch this open up a little bit more so you can see it. So that's coming along nicely. I've put a lot into it this week. And the final thing that I finished this week is my unicorn embroidery. I had this DMC floss that it's a bit glittery and glimmery. I don't know if you can catch it on camera. There, that helps a little. I went ahead and I just put the black behind it. It's hard to get these things on video like this. But there's the unicorn. Once again, I outlined it in gray, then I just used this shimmery thread to help give it a little bit of a sparkle. When I think of a unicorn, I think more like the light pale pastel colors, not necessarily it's like the regular dark Crayola colors. And then I did go ahead and I outlined the actual picture in the purple, and it's kind of a variegated. It goes from the dark back to the light and stuff like that. So I went ahead and used that. So this is all finished. It's finished stitching. I'm still going to have to go ahead and get it all ironed out and pressed. Make sure I get all of the little spots of the ink that I used. See how you can get a little bit of a shadow of the ink? That ink will disappear with heat because I used a friction pen, so that'll be fine. And then I haven't decided how I'm actually going to display this. So I'm going to have to think on that a little bit and see if I want to just put it in the hoop and hang it like that, or if I want to actually turn it into a quilted wall hanging. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. But that's it for me this week. I just dabbled in a little bit of everything. Mostly spent some time cleaning up at the craft room, like I said. I hope everyone's been having a great week, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's videos. Bye!